Ever think about how being behind the times could actually help you get ahead?
Mm, interesting.
Well, today we're going to deep dive into this research paper,
Okay.
and it kind of flips the script on how we usually think about business and tech.
Okay.
So the paper's called Organizational Change in Small and Medium Enterprises,
Okay.
Technological Backwardness,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks at small and medium businesses, in Mexico,
Right.
and it basically says that in some cases, being behind can actually be a good thing.
Well, what's fascinating here is this concept of a backwardness advantage,
Yeah,
where being behind technologically
right.
can actually be what drives,
Like a motivator.
yeah, like a catalyst for really rapid change.
So instead of just trying to catch up, they're like rocketing ahead.
Exactly, yeah.
That's kind of crazy. How does that even work?
So imagine like a local bakery
Okay.
that's still using pen and paper for everything,
Right.
and then all of a sudden they realize their competitors are doing really well with, online ordering,
Mm-hmm.
personalized offers, all these fancy customer management systems.
Mm-hmm.
That contrast, that realization that they are behind
What?
can be a really powerful motivator to change and change fast.
It's like they suddenly realize they're in a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
And they've got to up their game like right away. Right.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Instead of slowly upgrading,
Yeah.
they have to jump to the most advanced solutions.
Mm-hmm.
It's like skipping a few steps on a ladder,
Okay.
you know?
That makes sense. But this study also says that technology isn't just how businesses respond to change.
Right.
It's actually a cause of change.
Right.
So how does that work for these businesses?
Well, think about the impact of smartphones,
Okay.
mobile apps, social media.
Yeah.
These things have completely changed how customers behave.
Right.
So now people expect businesses to be
Mm.
always connected,
Mhm.
available all the time,
Mm.
and responsive.
Right.
And that puts so much pressure on businesses,
Yeah.
especially smaller ones,
Okay.
to adapt and start using new technologies,
Yep.
whether they feel ready or not.
Yeah, it's like the digital world is setting the pace,
Mm.
and if you don't keep up,
Yeah,
you're going to be left behind.
you'll be left in the dust.
Especially if they're already starting from behind,
And
like
so-
the ones in this study.
They are facing a double challenge, yeah.
So they have to catch up in this fast-changing world
Right.
and also deal with the pressure of adopting all this new tech.
Yeah.
This all sounds really tech-focused,
Yeah.
but the research also looks at what they call the human factor.
Right.
So the actual people who are involved in making these changes work.
Right.
What'd they find out about that?
Well, that's a crucial point.
Okay.
It's not enough to just bring in new technologies.
Mm.
The success of those changes depends on how businesses handle the people side of things.
So it's not enough to buy the latest software.
Right.
You got to make
And-
sure people can use it
Exactly, yeah.
and want to use
Yeah.
it.
And want to use it. The research talks about two key things.
Okay.
First, employees need to understand what's going on.
Mm.
They need to know why these changes are happening
Okay.
and how it's going to affect them.
Mm-hmm.
And second, management needs to be really involved,
Okay.
providing support and resources throughout the whole process.
So it's all about communication and transparency.
Yes.
Why is management so important in all this, though?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't give someone a complex piece of machinery
Right.
without any instructions or training, right?
Yeah.
Technology is the same.
Okay.
Management needs to be there to guide employees,
Mm-hmm.
answer questions,
Mm-hmm.
and deal with any concerns.
So it's not about just throwing tech at people.
Well-
It's about leadership being involved.
Yeah.
But the study also says that technological backwardness itself can actually be a barrier.
Right.
Isn't that kind of contradictory?
Ah, yes. This is where the backward disadvantage gets really interesting.
Okay.
So, while being behind can make people want to change,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it can also make them resistant,
Especially.
among employees who haven't seen the good things about technology.
Yeah, okay.
They might be worried about losing their jobs.
Right.
They might feel overwhelmed
Mm-hmm.
or just resistant to change in general.
I guess it's like trying to get someone who's never used a smartphone to suddenly switch.
Yeah.
They might not get in until they try it, right?
Exactly. And the study found that the more aware people are of this gap,
Mm-hmm.
the more willing they are to push for change, even if there's resistance.
So knowing you're behind can make you want to change.
Yeah.
But it can also make people push back more.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting tension.
It is.
It makes me wonder, are there times when it's actually better to wait to see how things play out before jumping in?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one we can look at more as we keep going.
Okay.
So far, we've seen how being behind can actually push people to change.
Mm.
how technology itself is changing what customers expect, and how important the human side of things is in making all these changes work.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot more to talk about.
So are we ready to dive even deeper?
Let's do it.
I can't wait to see where this deep dive takes us.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about a specific part of this research that I think you'll find really interesting.
Okay.
And that is the impact of e-business.
E-business. Okay.
Yeah.
That seems super relevant these days.
Yeah.
Almost everything's online.
Right.
So what did this research find out about how e-business is changing things?
They found a strong link
Okay.
between businesses adopting e-business practices and a shift in the entire company culture.
Oh, wow.
It's like opening a door to a whole new world.
So it's more than just like setting up a website or selling stuff online. It's like a total change in how the business thinks and works.
Exactly. It makes them more customer-focused, more data-driven, and more adaptable.
Okay.
You know, imagine a small furniture store
Right.
that's always done business the traditional way,
Right.
face-to-face, you know.
Yeah.
And then they finally open up an online store. Suddenly, they have to deal with all sorts of new things.
Right.
Like inventory management, online payments, shipping,
Yeah.
even digital marketing.
Wow. That sounds like a steep learning curve,
It is.
especially for a business that's maybe totally new to tech.
Totally.
Uh-huh.
But here's where that backwardness advantage can actually help.
Okay.
Because they're starting from scratch.
Yeah.
They can implement the latest systems right away.
So instead of being stuck with old tech and outdated methods,
Right.
they can jump right to the cutting edge.
Exactly. And because they have to adapt quickly,
Okay.
they might end up with a more streamlined and efficient business.
That's interesting.
But it's not just about the tech.
Right.
It's also about the people using it.
Right. We talked earlier about how important it is, to bring employees along on this journey. Did the research have any specific insights
It did.
about how to manage that human side of things?
Well, think about it from an employee's perspective.
Okay.
You've been doing things one way for years,
Right.
and suddenly everything's changing. It's natural to feel unsure or even resistant.
Okay, so how can businesses make sure their teams feel good about these changes?
The research says clear and open communication is key.
Okay.
Employees need to know why the business is moving to e-business, what the benefits are,
Okay.
and how it will affect their jobs.
So everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
And feels like they're part of the process.
Exactly. And leadership plays a crucial role here.
Okay.
Managers need to be actively involved, providing training,
Right.
answering questions,
Okay.
and addressing any concerns.
So it sounds like building trust is super important.
It is.
And having that open communication to get through this tech shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about making the transition smooth.
Okay.
When employees feel included, they're more likely to come up with new ideas and solutions, which makes the whole e-business adoption even more successful.
So it's like turning a potential problem into a team effort?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, it's important to remember that this research was done in Mexico.
Right.
And they looked at businesses that weren't international.
Okay.
So how do these findings apply more broadly
Yeah, that's a good question.
to businesses of all sizes all over the world?
It seems like the main ideas here, like the backwardness advantage, the human factor, the power of e-business, those could apply anywhere, right?
Absolutely. In today's world, no business can ignore how fast technology is changing and how customer expectations are evolving.
Right.
This research is really valuable for leaders across industries.
Okay.
It reminds us that being willing to change and putting people first are key to thriving in this digital age.
You know, this makes me think about digital transformation, which is something we hear all the time. It can seem really daunting.
Yeah.
But this research is saying that maybe the key is to focus on the basics.
Right.
Clear communication, empowering employees, and being open to adapting.
Exactly. Now, this study also looked at some of the challenges
Okay.
that businesses face when they adopt new technology.
Right, because it's not always easy.
It's not.
So let's talk about those obstacles.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest hurdles they might run into?
One of the biggest is a lack of money.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
New technology can be expensive,
It can, yeah.
especially e-business solutions.
Right. Think about things like upgrading computers, buying software,
Okay.
training employees.
Yeah.
These costs can add up really fast.
Especially for smaller businesses.
Right.
With limited budgets.
Exactly. It's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
Businesses need to invest in tech to stay competitive.
Right.
But they might not have the money to do it.
So how do they break out of that cycle?
Well, the study suggests that having access to affordable financing is super important.
Okay.
This could be things like government grants, low-interest loans,
Okay.
or partnerships with tech companies that offer flexible payments.
So it's about finding creative ways to make sure that businesses of all sizes have a chance to succeed in this digital world.
Exactly. Now, besides the money issue, there's another big obstacle.
Yeah.
Resistance to change.
Right. We touched on that before.
We did, but it's worth talking about more.
Okay.
Because even if a business has the money for new tech, you still have to deal with the human side of things.
Right.
Employees might be happy with how things are, or they might be scared of new systems.
Right.
So how can businesses get past that resistance?
Yeah, how do you deal with that?
Well, the study says it's important to involve employees right from the start.
Okay.
This could mean giving them a chance to give feedback on new tech, offering training programs and celebrating successes to build excitement and momentum.
So you want everyone to feel heard and supported and ready for the changes.
Exactly. And it's also about focusing on the good stuff.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on the negatives, emphasize how new tech can make jobs easier, improve customer satisfaction, and make the business more successful.
So instead of being afraid of change,
Right.
it's about seeing it as a positive opportunity.
Yeah. It's about creating a shared vision and inspiring everyone to be part of that journey.
I like that. Speaking of the future, let's talk about another thing the research highlighted, and that is customer expectations.
Right.
They seem to be changing faster than ever.
They are. What did this study say about how those expectations are shaping how businesses operate?
Especially those that might be a bit behind technologically.
The research found that smartphones, apps, and social media have really raised the bar for businesses.
Okay.
Customers now expect instant results, personalized experiences, and seamless interactions, no matter how they're connecting with the business.
It's like there's a whole new set of rules
It is.
for how businesses need to interact with their customers.
Exactly. And if businesses don't keep up, they risk losing customers to those who do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is especially hard for businesses that are behind on tech.
Right, so how can they catch up?
Yeah.
How can they get ahead of the curve?
Well, this is where the backwardness advantage can be a real asset.
Okay.
Because they're starting later.
Yeah.
They can learn from the mistakes of others and use the latest, most customer-friendly technologies.
So they can skip over those early clunky phases.
Exactly.
And go straight to the good stuff.
And because they have to adapt quickly, they might end up with a more agile and responsive business.
So being a late adopter can actually force businesses to be more innovative.
It can.
And put the customer first.
Exactly. Now remember, this study was about businesses in Mexico. But the lessons here apply to anyone in any industry.
Okay.
It's a reminder that in today's world, no business can stand still.
Okay.
Change is the only constant.
Right.
And embracing change is essential for success.
Are you ready to talk about some key takeaways from this research?
I am.
I'm really curious to see how we can apply these findings to our own lives and work.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's continue this awesome discussion in part 3. So we've talked about how e-business is changing companies and how being behind on tech can actually be a good thing.
Right.
But we haven't really talked about the customers themselves.
Yeah.
It seems like their expectations are changing like crazy.
You're right. The research really highlights how smartphones, apps, and all that social media stuff have totally changed what customers expect.
Okay.
It's not enough to just have a website anymore.
Right.
Or even just offer good service.
So what do customers want these days?
Well, think about your own experiences.
Okay.
When you shop online, what do you expect?
I mean, I guess I expect things like personalized suggestions, recommendations.
Right.
Fast shipping, easy returns.
Exactly.
I want to be able to contact the business easily, get quick answers, and not feel like just a number.
You want to feel like an individual.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they care.
Yeah. It's like we've all become experts.
Right.
in online shopping and customer service.
We've been trained by the best, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we expect that everywhere.
Exactly.
This puts a ton of pressure on businesses.
It does.
Especially the ones that haven't really embraced technology yet.
Yeah, they're playing catch-up in a game where the rules keep changing.
Right. But couldn't that backwardness advantage actually help them here?
How so?
Well, if they're starting from scratch online,
yeah,
they can build it the right way from the beginning.
That's true.
Using the latest tools and everything.
They can learn from everyone else's mistakes.
Right.
The businesses that rushed in without really understanding what customers wanted.
It's like they get to skip over all those awkward early stages.
Yeah, like skipping the teenage years of e-commerce.
Yeah, exactly.
And going straight to being a grown-up.
And because they're coming in later,
right,
they might be more aware of what customers want.
They might be more in tune with those expectations, yeah.
And more willing to adapt quickly.
Exactly.
So, in a way, being behind can force them to be more innovative.
It can.
And really focus on the customer.
It can make them more agile and responsive overall.
That's so interesting. So this study was about businesses in Mexico?
Right.
But what it tells us is relevant for everyone, right?
Absolutely. Anyone trying to navigate this crazy digital world can learn from these findings.
It really makes you rethink what progress and innovation actually mean.
It does. Sometimes being a little behind can actually push you to do amazing things.
That's a great point. It's like sometimes the most unexpected path leads to the best outcome.
Exactly. There's no one right way to be successful.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm feeling kind of optimistic.
Oh, that's good.
The digital world can be overwhelming.
It can.
But this research shows that there's room for everyone.
Absolutely.
Even those who are just getting started.
It's all about being open to learning, being willing to adapt.
Right.
And always focusing on giving your customers something great.
And maybe, maybe being a little backward is exactly what we need.
Like that.
To really jump ahead and do something incredible.
It could be that push you need, yeah.
So everyone listening, think about this. Is there something in your life or work where you've been holding back from change? Could this be your chance to use that backwardness?
To your advantage.
Yeah, to your advantage, to really make a leap forward.
I like that.
It's something to think about as you find your own way to success.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep diving deep.